If you're a runner, you've probably heard you should do your strength training, and hopefully you are. If you're not, you should do your strength training. But I remember hearing the same thing and not knowing where to start. And especially as an ultra athlete, I don't think the world has it quite figured out. I don't know if we even have strength training or running in general figured out at any distance. I think there's more understanding at marathons or 5Ks maybe, and ultra just seems to be a huge, like, it just different sport, obviously. Like, you need to have the strength to be able to endure 100 miles, 200 miles, whatever, right? So I want to talk about what's worked for me. I've ran 10 marathons in 10 days, set a couple course records that have since been broken, but I set the course records at the time. I did 550Ks in 5 days, ran a sub 3 hour marathon, like a 118 half. So I have some understanding. I'm no pro by any means yet, maybe someday, but I do have an understanding, I think, as far as balancing strength training. So if one of the reasons why you haven't done that, I'm going to break it down as far as what works for me and take what works, cut off the rest. I think that's the best way to go about things like this. So for me, I have a couple different seasons and a couple different types of workouts, and it kind of depends on what my goals are. So as an example, when I'm in marathon training, I run 1 marathon a year. I basically go a lot lighter weight, higher reps to get a low aerobic base endurance. Like, I don't want to absolutely destroy my body because of the speed work I'm putting in for marathon training. So I found that works for me. And I don't really lift heavy for my legs during marathon training. So pretty much throughout the summer, I'm not lifting any weights for leg day per se. I just do a couple hundred calf raises every evening or every morning. I do like 200 a day. And I think that's good for me, and it's helped me keep my legs strong while I'm trying to do this speed work and marathon training. So for marathon training, that's worked for me. Now, when it comes to ultras, what I originally started doing when I got into ultras and lifting at the same time is I would lift 5 days a week, and I would run 7 or 6 days a week, or maybe 5 days a week, depending on the week. And I'm glad I did this, but I think this was too much. I'm glad I did this because, one, I spent so many hours in the gym. It was a lot of repetition. It was a lot of focused effort to understand strength training, to be optimal with my lifts, to get full range of motion, figure out what kind of lifting works for me, right? So I think everyone could and should endure a training period, if you're a runner or not, but we're talking about running. I think everyone should lift 5 days a week for even a couple months, just so you get a lot of repetition and start to understand it. And then once you know what works for you, you can dial it back a lot, I think, to maximize what you're trying to do. Because we're all busy. We all have lives. If you're watching this video, you're probably not a pro athlete, and so you need to be able to balance these things. And I travel like crazy in a sales job, so I get it. I get it. So if you put in a short period of time of a lot of time in the gym, maybe to the point where it's overtraining, but you get that repetition in, once you understand it, you can optimize it for yourself. And that's what I've been able to do when it comes to lifting and ultras and lifting and marathon training. So for me, after spending all this time lifting, what I like to do is I work out 2, maybe 3 days a week. And what I've started to understand, and I think is working well for me, is I'm looking for more strength opposed to hypertrophy training or growing muscle. So I'm lifting heavy for very few reps. And I like this because when you think about ultra running, and this is my hypothesis, we'll see as time goes on if I change it. Currently, the way I view it is if I'm going to endure 50 miles, a 50K, a 100 mile, a 200 mile race, I need to be strong enough to endure it. I see a mix of ultra athletes where some of them look like they're in cross country or marathon training, and I see some actually bulky guys who are competing seriously. And so it's interesting to see that, and my hypothesis is they focus on heavy lifting because you need the strength to be able to endure, right? You need to be able to endure pounding a downhill and then still having another 70 miles to run, right? And so I think that's a good way to go about things. Now, who knows? Maybe lifting, like doing 25 reps of squats at a lower, weight is good too. I don't know. This is just me talking about what's worked for me. I've set a couple course records, so I think I'm starting to figure some things out. But I work out 2, maybe 3 days a week, and I split it. I have a couple different splits, so I won't bore you with the details. But like, for example, this week I'm doing I did chest, arms, and shoulders on Monday, and then on Friday I am going to do back and legs. And so I don't get to isolate and target every single muscle because I'm trying to only spend an hour, maybe 45 minutes in the gym. But I lift heavy, I lift intense, and I do about 3 sets per workout. So I do a warm-up set where it's a lot lighter weight, and then I'm lifting heavy, anywhere from like 3 to maybe 10 reps depending on the workout. And again, because I've spent so much time in the gym, I figured out what's worked for me. So I encourage that for people. If you can't do that, if you don't have the time for it, it's just going to take longer for you to figure out what works for you. So there's so many things out there, and at the end of the day, everyone has the thing they swear by if they're successful. The most important thing is that you start getting into the gym. And if you need to make it not as overwhelming, just get in the gym and start Googling workout plans. That's what I did. Or maybe I could put something together for beginner runners. In the description link of this video, I have a free community for runners, and I have a lot of strength training modules and things like that in there. So if you feel called to that, go click that link and you can see what I do for strength training. But this is basically what I've learned that to balance it out, because as I'm trying to increase volume, I want to be able to run more, because obviously you need to run a lot to get fitter and faster. And at the same time, I'm seeing the benefits of strength training. Plus, it feels good to lift heavy ass weight. So it's definitely a fun time for me. I enjoy it. So maybe you will too. I didn't always, but here I am now, considering myself a gym guy. So hopefully that helps. Keep it simple. You don't have to. You're not a bodybuilder if you're a runner trying to strength train to support your running. Just keep it super simple and get in there and figure out what works for you, because maybe what I'm talking about isn't going to work for you. And I don't even know what distance you're trying to run, or if you're just trying to lose weight, or if you're just running for fun. So anyways, hopefully it gives you food for thought. If you like running content, tips, tricks, I'm on a mission to help get people fitter faster, avoid and work through injuries, and overall just love the sport of running and stay in love with running. It's something that's absolutely changed my life, and I wouldn't change any of what I've gone through when it comes to running. I think it's been perfect for me. So if you like that stuff, consider hitting the subscribe button. If not, totally cool. It's not going to offend me. So I appreciate your time, because I know it's valuable, and hopefully you got some value out of this video. Hopefully I get to see you on the trails, roads sometime soon, or maybe in the next video. Peace.